Tooth Fairy, The Last Extraction is a really bad horror movie. So, a friendly reminder before we get into the plot that my movies for a while will not have any captions on them, as CapCut has decided to make captions in general a pro subscription. So, boo to them. Yes, the plot. In a plot twist, we are actually not really going to do a plot with this movie. And the reason for that is because this is easily, just in general, one of the worst horror movies I had seen. If you want to kind of get an idea of what the movie's about, watch my other Tooth Fairy review. It's basically the same idea. Not really, but kinda. Yeah, so really we're just going to get into the review just off rip. So the review to Tooth Fairy, The Last Extraction. And yes, it had been a extremely long time. I'm like over 200 movie reviews. And I mean, it's been since almost the beginning since I've actually watched an extremely horrible movie. Spoilers. This movie is going to be a skip in the recommendation, and it's just been so long since we've had that. Yeah, this movie is just awful all around. There's not one redeeming quality of this movie. From just the extremely bad acting, the extremely bad directing, the extremely bad writing. The movie is a sequel to the first, if I could talk right, the first Tooth Fairy, but yet the lore is completely off. In the first one, she's weak against candy, but in this one, she loves candy and she uses candy as a weapon. But like I said, in the first one, candy was used to defeat her. Just absolutely insane. Some of the cuts in this movie were so horrible, like in the end when the dad wishes or wants his daughter to fight the Tooth Fairy off, and then that cut is just insanely horrible. Just honestly, everything about this movie is bad. It's probably honestly going to be a top 3 worst movie I've ever seen. And what makes it even worse is, say for instance, like the worst movies I've ever seen are like Sharkenstein and Velocipaster. Those felt like they were done on purpose, like they're meant to be that bad on purpose, you know? While this is just not on purpose, it's just extremely shitty. It felt like something it's like words can't even describe how bad it was. It felt like a scam, a money scheme. Like they got a bunch of money from this movie and put maybe 1% of that money towards the movie and laundered the rest of it. Back to the first one, like I said, the best things about these movies are the cover art, which is completely just messed up, because like you see the cover art and you'll be like, oh well, that looks crazy, and then it's absolutely nothing like that. Just very, very bad. And from somebody who absolutely is super passionate about horror movies and even just movies in general, and usually some bad movies I always find a bright light, or like a movie can be something I'm like, oh, I want to recommend this, but yet there was this one part that was pretty good. There was just none of that in this movie. Honestly, this movie gave me kind of a headache, and I don't even remember the last time a movie gave me a headache. Like, that is crazy. It was just very, very, very bad. The one thing I do have to say that they did better than the first one, though, was they actually got old people in this movie to act as old people. Now, don't get me wrong, the first Tooth Fairy is horrible also, but But yeah, in the first one, they had 20-something-year-olds playing old people, which didn't make no sense, with horrible makeup artists. And yeah, in this one, they actually got old people, but it didn't matter because at the end of the day, these old people didn't know what they were doing, didn't know how to act. And I mean, is it really their fault when just the director and everything around them was just completely ass? So I mean, it was like if you just picked random people who had no idea how to make a movie and was like, look, we're about to make a movie. That's what I got from this. Like, nobody was good. There wasn't nothing good in this movie. And like I said, just the writing was horrible. I could just honestly talk about how bad this movie is for a very long time. We're not. That's done. We're done talking about it. So, my recommendation for Tooth Fairy: The Last Extraction, and like I said, it has been so long. Jeez, Louisiana. This is a for sure skip. Actually, just don't ever watch this movie. It is for sure bad. And what's even crazier is, like, when you look up the movie Tooth Fairy, like, there's just, you don't even really get anything on these movies. They're nonsense. Also, what makes these movies bad is they're not old. I think the first Tooth Fairy was made in 2019 or came out in 2019. Like, these are new movies. So, yeah, just extremely bad.